This is Janet from the West End Library at Laurelton, Pennsylvania, and I'm doing my monthly book review. This month's book is Cabinet of Curiosities by Preston&Childs. This book is one from my personal selection at home, but our library does have copies of other Preston&Childs books. Their style of writing is along the same lines as Michael Crichton, working from a thriller genre with imagined scientific ideas thrown in. I personally have read several of Preston&Childs' books more than once, including Cabinet of Curiosities. The Museum of Natural History in New York City also plays a big part in this thriller, as it does in other Preston&Childs novels. There are returning characters who add continuity to several of the books. In Cabinet of Curiosities, with the construction of a new high-rise in downtown New York City, a wall has been broken through which exposes an old and mysterious site of murders from the late 1800s. Walled into catacombs, the skeletal remains of 36 people, along with personal items and clothing items, puts this construction of the new high-rise temporarily at a stop. Enter Agent Pendergrast of the FBI, who plays a big part in other Preston&Childs novels. Because of his past with supernatural-like encounters in the city, he involves himself in attempting to search for clues as to who, why, and when these people were buried there. Pendergast goes to the Museum of Natural History, where he enlists the help of an archaeologist by the name of Nora Kelly. Nora discovers a piece of clothing with a hidden piece of paper sewn into the garment, but she was unable to remove the item from the underground tunnel due to the developer of the construction project having the police and medical examiners' offices contacted to remove the skeletal remains so work can continue. There's some question as to whether or not the site is of historical value, which is what Pendergast and Nora are arguing for. Nora removes the garment she found and throws it further back in the catacomb in hopes of retrieving it later. Later, Nora enlists the help of her boyfriend, William Smithback Jr., who is a reporter, to go back to the construction site so she can retrieve the garment from the catacomb. The garment reveals a very mysterious message from a little girl from the 1800s, and upon testing the printing on the message, they find out that it had been written in blood. Upon examining the skeletal remains, it was discovered that the people buried had been murdered in a very brutal manner. In addition, 2 people have been recently murdered, and upon being examined, have been murdered as well in the same manner as the skeletal remains found. Further investigation uncovers a correlation to the past and present murders, as well as what had been known as cabinets of curiosities, which were the forerunners to present-day museums. The cabinets had been the personal property of individuals who traveled the world collecting unique items, some authentic, others fabricated to appear to be scientific anomalies. As Pendergast, Smithback, and Nora begin to investigate and look more into the bodies from the catacomb, the recent murders, a police officer is assigned to follow them and report back to his chief. But the officer realizes that the 3 investigating the murders are more reputable and uncover more than the police department due to the departments being under the thumb of the wealthy developer. There's a lot of reference to old NYC, specifically in the 5 Points area where thousands of impoverished folks lived in the late 1800s. A very gruesome and bizarre story comes to light in relation to the past murders and the more recent ones. The Cabinet of Curiosities is a quick-paced read with a lot of twists and turns. This book is very typical of other Preston&Childs books, and if you like thrillers, fast-paced, and some scientific stuff thrown in, you will certainly enjoy their books.